Hello everyone, and welcome to Chris's Granite Paradise if this is your first time. And those of you who have been with me all along, welcome back. God bless you. A number of you have asked me about making projects out of granite. As you can see, I have a lot of granite and other rocks as well. And I do occasionally do some projects other than the sculptures, obviously, but smaller projects like cutting and polishing, such as these here, or cutting slabs. I made this a number of years ago, quite a bit of work in that one. And I want to bring up these pencil holders because these are a prime example that I've always kept around for explaining this dilemma. And those of you who do lapidary, or maybe you make bookends and other things out of rocks, the pinch we're feeling from overseas or machined competition is quite acute. So this is my favorite example. I made this, it must have been like 1997-ish, so 28 years ago. It's just a pencil holder. A glorified pencil holder. It's made of Verde Maritaca granite from Brazil. And what I did is, if you can see the repeated pattern, I took a slab similar to the bottom slab here, but it was only 3/4 of an inch thick, and it was a slab that was cut in an interesting manner. I don't have anything even similar right now, so you'll have to just trust me. But if you look at this bottom slab here, you see how the veins come across it? And so when you look at it edge on, the veins look like they're up and down. Well, this slab was the opposite. The top looked almost without any pattern, and yet the edge of the slab had very tight veining going horizontally. So I took that slab and I cut it into 1/4-inch strips, a gazillion of them. And then I butterfly matched them so that you'd have the grain on one side matching the grain on the other, and all the way around. If you could appreciate that pattern. So that was a tremendous amount of work. Came out nice. I ground the inside as smooth as I could. I didn't really have any tooling that could reach all the way down, so you could still see where the glue squeezed out. Then polished it all. Anyway, long story short, I think that took me maybe 3 days to make, or 2 days to make, if I were to add up the hours. I want to say it was something like 18 hours or something. I really don't remember. Of course, back then we used an epoxy that took 24 hours to harden, and then the grinding and polishing and all that was entailed. So, okay, you do the math. How much would we have to sell this for it to be a profitable venture with what it costs to run a business nowadays? And then, many years later, this was probably 10 or 15 years ago already, went to Walmart. And here's this beautiful pencil holder, literally like the exact same diameter, just by chance, mind you. But I saw this, and the price tag's not on it anymore, but it was like $11. And so I've always kept these around. Oh yeah, let's bang it and break it. That's a good idea. I've always kept these around as my showcase example of why granite shops throw their scrap away, and why you don't see napkin holders and little things like that made, other than a few custom orders where a client will say, hey, I want something to match. For example, like I have this table. This is made of rainbow granite from Minnesota. And I'm the one that made the table, and I cut these triangles off. Let me pause here and go get it so I can show you. So here is this napkin holder, and I made these three hexagons, I guess for lack of a better word. Out of the corners I cut off this table. You see this table has, 8 sides. It's shaped kind of like an elongated stop sign. And so I wanted I wanted a matching napkin holder. So occasionally somebody would ask for something like that, but that's like once every 10 years or something that we would get a request like that in our business in the granite shop. I was part owner of a granite shop in Montana for a number of years. So that's awesome in a custom situation. Okay, but I'd have to charge, $300 to make that napkin holder. So as far as putting them for sale in a store, how many people would be willing to pay $300 for a napkin holder that's random, that isn't connected to them somehow? Okay, I hope that makes sense. So stick with me today. I want to talk about my business venture that I am proud to announce that I am resurrecting from its long slumber. And I think we'll have some fun. This is the large coffee table that I made when we first came to Colorado back in the year 2000. I think I finished it in 2001. Let me clarify that I had the wood structure made by a furniture company in town, and they did an awesome job. But for me to do that would require a whole different skill set and a whole nother shop. My family and I, the kids were little at the time, made frequent trips to the local river and collected what were the beginnings of what has now become a large number of rocks and rock-related projects, both inside and outside of the house. To make the table, I devised a relatively quick and efficient way to slice the river cobbles into thin slabs, thinner than your regular lapidary slabs might be, in order to make maximum use of each rock in the sense that there were no end cuts or chunks left over, and the resulting tiles would be a reasonable thickness and weight. Then these were adhered to regular ceramic tiles, and after filling in the space between the rock slices, each tile was polished down and lightly beveled. A spray lacquer was applied to fill any remaining fractures or imperfections. I had to build a specially designed shop at our home for this purpose, and had these slices down to a science after a while. This is perhaps the main product that I am offering. For the reasons stated at the beginning of the video, I know that one can buy sliced and rounded cobbles, even already adhered to netting for easy tile installation, for pennies on the dollar. But again, alluding back to what I discussed concerning the napkin holder for my table, what I am offering you is that these would be your rocks, attached to your memories. This opens up so many possibilities. I can also cut the slices thicker and even tumble them lightly to bring out that river washed look, and in that way you can install them in any manner of ways that you might desire. I am genuinely excited about bringing this idea back to life after so many years. To make these tiles for the table I'm showing you, our coffee table, it's made of, I believe, 18-inch by 18-inch tiles. I basically got ceramic tiles that had a rough surface, and then I roughed the surface up even more. But you can see these slices are cut very efficiently. They're like, less than 1/8 of an inch thick. Some of them might be 1/8. They vary a little bit. I have a technique for cutting them very efficiently and rapidly compared to a traditional diamond saw that a lapidary user might have. So I have all these slices left over. It's probably not enough to make another table, but it's quite a bit. And you can see a lot of them are smaller, because again, I picked a lot of the bigger ones to make the table. But I also separated out, I'll show you these examples. Out of one rock, you get a gob of slices, especially if it's a longer rock, depending on the shape of the rock. Here's a beautiful porphyry of some kind. Some sandstones from our local area. These are all from the Cache-la-Poudre River. And then, that's not even a 1/16 of an inch thick. So this thickness is great for making the tiles. And again, the selling point isn't that oh goody, I can have tiles made of river rocks. No, because you can go online and you could buy buckets of these slices, not this thin, they're thicker. They're more like this. You can go online and buy, they'll glue them to a mesh. I don't remember what they're called, but they're like for backsplash. So they're tumbled. I tumbled mine as well. And then they'd be glued to the wall, you know, as backsplash in your kitchen, or you could use them for the floor. So I'm not even going to try to compete with that, because you can buy that material. If you don't care what material it is, you can buy it so cheap. I'll insert a couple photos here of what I'm talking about. All right, I'm not even sure what you would call these, so I just typed in, if you can see up here, flat pebble limestone. And maybe if I were to type in river cobbles or something, others would come up. But just look at these. I mean, there's an infinite variety. This one is about as close to what we're talking about that you can buy commercially. There are others, but like this one here, I looked into it. It says $305, but it comes out to about $28 a square foot. Okay, so it's a little more expensive than a lot of the other ones, but still way cheaper than what a guy like me can do. I don't think I can compete with $30 a square foot. I don't know, I might try, but I don't think so. Maybe if they were just loose or something, maybe. But anyway, here's some more that look good. I saw another one down here. You can even get them with patterns. You know, somebody in China or somewhere lays these on a net, and they can sell them for these prices. So if you don't care what rocks you're buying, then you don't want to be buying from me, because I'm a lot more expensive. And anyone else, any other lapidary guy who offers you to cut your rocks is going to be much more costly than these. But you can have the look. If you don't care about what the rocks are, what I'm trying to say is you can have that kind of look in your projects. They just won't be sentimentally valuable to you. I really like this one. I mean, that's a nice mix of rocks for, let's say, after you pay your delivery, maybe $35 a square foot. That's hard to beat. That's a nice one. Anyway, that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. But the selling point here is that these are your rocks. These are from the river behind your house. These are from the beach you always went to as a kid. That kind of thing. That's why my tables that I'm showing in this video are so special to me, because they're rocks that my kids collected, or, you know, they have sentimental value. What we are seeing here is a project from when we were still living in Montana in the late 90s. And this top was made in a similar fashion using rocks from the Yellowstone River collected in Billings. Really a colorful mix for sure. But the new aspect that I want to point out on this particular project is the base. Being veneered with relatively large cobbles from the same river, this is a relatively simple process compared to the making of the tiles, but it enables you to get double bang with half the weight in terms of displaying your favorite rocks, perhaps on an outside wall, or, as in this case, on a piece of furniture for inside the house. So I would like to invite you guys, and spread the word, let me process your rocks. Be it into tile, be it into butterflies. You can take these and book match them and make butterfly patterns, flowers. You know, you can make a landscape design out of your cut rocks. And then you can say, hey, these are all from our beach. Remember when we always went to that beach as a kid? Another thing you saw, or that we'll see with the Yellowstone River cabinet and table that I made, I have these halves. This is one of the halves left over. So I cut the rock in half. You end up with two halves. And then with a grinder, I rough up the surface to make sure that it sticks. You don't want to cut this with a lapidary saw. That saw cut is so smooth, the rocks would fall off. They got to be pretty rough. Anyway, these are just some ideas that I've done. I know I'm proficient at doing, and I'm in the process of retooling. And you will be hearing from me more about this. And like I said, my work's been going slow, so I'm looking to resurrect my stone operation. And whether it be your rocks or mine, I have lots of rocks to pick from here. So I'm excited and just wanted to share this with you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff.